All right, the familiar sights of Interstate 580 cruising on into Peppermill. We are on an extreme cold streak on this vlog. The last time I booked a win was April 22nd. Now, how many sessions have I played since then? 3. All red.
All
Okay.
reds.
Also, I am just devastated about an opportunity that apparently I missed on my Spain trip. I'll tell you about that coming up at the end of the vlog. We got a 5-10 game shaping up. Work to do. I would show up to play poker on a day in which Bugsy was on the road again. He'll have a correspondence piece from Philadelphia later on. Vlog 309 would take place at Peppermill, Reno, a place where I occasionally will stop by the menswear shop to see if there's anything I want to buy with my comps. I would look at this jacket and think, that looks pretty cool, up until I saw the price, which was about $600 more than I was considering paying. We'd get a full 5-10 game on table 1 at 11 a.m. I'd lose about $100 early on, trying to set mine in a spot that would have been lucrative, before we got a hand where we would get a limp from the hijack. I have ace-queen in the cutoff and raised to 40. A doctor who rarely gives action, yes, I said that right, calls in the big blind, and the hijack does as well. So with 125 in, the flop would come out ace, 7, 8, 2 hearts, giving me top pair. But the big blind bets out for $75. Hijack folds. He was the guy I was hoping would play the hand against, but he's out here. Anyway, there is no way I can fold ace-queen yet, so I make this call. And with 275 in the pot, the turn is maybe the single worst card in the deck for me. Something I've said on a number of occasions this year. It's the 6 of hearts. And sure enough, he blasts it, firing $175. I have never seen this guy bluff. I'm sure he's done it, but never against me. I don't think this becomes a difficult fold at all. And that is what I do. He says that he was gonna raise me pre-flop, but decided against it, which to me makes ace-king with the king of hearts feel very likely in that spot. I then look down at pocket queens. Under the gun, I make it 35. A pro on my immediate left 3-bets to 110. He's certainly gonna have a reasonably wide 3-betting range here, but he isn't going to have a very wide range of hands that he's going to continue with against a 4-bet from me out of position. So while I would like to avoid playing against him at all, if I'm forced to, I would love to have him crushed when I do. Spoiler alert, I did. So I would just call the 110. And with 230 in the pot, the flop would come out 4, 5, 7 with 2 spades, and I check. He bets out for 125 here. And this seemed like a good spot to not raise, as I think he's just going to get away from a lot of the hands that I beat if I check raise him here. And obviously he's not getting away from a single hand that I can't beat. So I'm certainly not considering this a trap or a slow play. I'm just trying to create a situation where I can get him to value bet weaker hands, which he's obviously a good enough player to do. So I just call. And with 480 in, the turn is a red 9, and I check for a second time. He comes out and is not deterred at all. He fires 200. And while I was concerned, if he has kings or aces, I was going to get screwed and lose a massive pot no matter how I played this hand. But now I've given him a chance to continue to value bet the few hands that I can beat. One of them did just get there, but obviously 10s and jacks are still in play. Maybe he could potentially double barrel ace-king. And then there's also some weird pair plus straight draw hands that he could just be getting overly aggressive with, though I really never thought that was going to be the case. I didn't buy in super deep in this game, and obviously hadn't won a hand to this point. So at this point, I only have about 400 or so left in my stack. And I am putting it all in the pot here. And I know, regardless of what he has, I'm getting snap called because of the price. So sure enough, that's what happens. And we have $1,300 in this pot very early on in the day on this Tuesday. I turn over my pocket queens because I'm the first one to show, and he tables pocket 9s. for the turn 2 outer. Pretty much on brand for me this year. Could I have gotten him off pocket nines with the re-raise pre-flop? Yes. But then I wouldn't have been in position to win a big pot against a hand that I had dominated. Judge that how you see it. That's just the way I decided to look at it. Though it did definitely sting. I would then rebuy and would lose about 300 more in a hand that I didn't even film because I was so disgusted already. He rivered trip tens after flopping a pair of tens in a spot where I don't really blame him for not folding. I had pocket jacks, knew when he bet big on the river he must have 3 tens, and sure enough he did. And at that point, my tilt level was extremely high and my image was extremely bad. This is one thing I've learned. It's very difficult to overcome a terrible start to a session when you have a bad image. And the one guy in the game who I knew I could count on to give action would get up and leave after only playing for an hour. And that part disgusted me. I would look around the table to see really only grinders in the game. So I just said, I'm leaving too. Because when you play cash game poker, you can leave whenever the hell you want. Alright, so you can see the sun is directly overhead. Very rare for a cash out video because it's still basically the middle of the day. A session of under 2 hours, booking a $1,178 loss. Obviously, you could just point out how I made a mistake and that cost me. If I had 4-bet the pocket queens pre-flop, I probably just won a small pot there. But, you know, do you want to just win small pots? Or do you want to take a shot at winning big pots when you're an 80% favorite? And these are the questions you can ask yourself. So obviously, if this vlog is going to become a vlog, I will have to come back here and do a second half of it. All right, it is Friday morning and things might be working out kind of perfectly for me here today because I have to just be honest with you. My confidence is kind of at an all-time low right now, as you might expect after having such a brutal year to this point and a brutal stretch of late. Would my confidence be at an all-time low if that turn was not a 9 in that hand? Maybe not, but it is what it is. And what I'm getting at here is that a lot of people will say during times like this you should go down in stakes, and that's not usually really an option here at Peppermill because all you have is 1-2 and 5-10 a lot of the time, and I'd rather just sit home than play 1-2. It's just not going to happen for me again. But during the course of the last month or two, and I have not been playing many hours during that stretch, this 3-5 game has apparently picked up some momentum here at Peppermill, which is nice, and there is a list for it today. So from a bankroll perspective, I certainly have plenty that I've won over the years to withstand this downswing multiple times over at 5-10, but from a confidence point of view, I'm not sure how much I have left in terms of ability to get my ass kicked in that game. So playing this 3-5 right now feels like the optimal play. So with the full 5-10 game on table 1, we'd fire up a 3-5 game on table 5 at 11 a.m. And to say the lineup was non-threatening would be an understatement. And in this case, non-threatening does not mean great. First hand would be kind of an illustration on what poker can be like if you aren't playing in the biggest game in the room. We get 2 limps for $5, and I have ace-jack of hearts middle position and raise to 20. 4 players would call the raise, and with 100 in, the flop would come out ace-10-6 with 2 diamonds and 1 heart, and I was expecting action. I'd bet half the pot here, and would get no action. Something I will not complain about. We get a raise to $15 under the gun, and it folds to me on the button, and I call with 4-5 of diamonds. Big blind calls as well, so with 45 in, the flop is 9 deuce-deuce with 1 diamond, and no one bets. The turn is maybe the single best card in the deck for me to barrel. It's the ace of diamonds. I pick up the straight flush draw, and when it would get checked to me again, I figured it's a must bet. So I put in $25. Big blind goes out immediately, but the player under the gun who raised preflop doesn't. And with 95 in, the river is the king of clubs. So I brick out, but he does check. This is a must bluff against a pre-flop raiser who didn't bet the flop. I fire $60 here. I figured he'd at least think about this if he had any sort of pair, but pretty clear he probably didn't. He folds the hand immediately. As you see in a lot of games that are smaller, we'd get a bunch of players who would just kind of come in for a half an hour and bail after less than an hour of playing. It's just one good indicator that you're in a very small game when that happens a lot. But obviously this is not the smallest game in the world. I still did buy in for $1,000 in a 3-5 game. We didn't get a hand where I couldn't have been more confident what I would ultimately be up against. We'd get a lot of limping in this game, and this hand was the first time where I would take part in it myself. It was a 4-way pot, and I'm not sure I've ever said this, but I was up against 3 OWCs in this hand. I said that right. I have Queen Jack offsuit on the button, and with 20 in, the flop is King 10 Deuce Rainbow, giving me an open ender. Small blind leads out for 15. Big blind calls. And the hijack calls. Now, there is no way that I am going to try a squeeze here, given the fact that small blind never bets out in a spot like this without a huge hand. So I just call, knowing that if I hit, a payday could be coming. With 80 in, I don't. And the turn is the 3 of hearts. Small blind, though, bets again for 50 with $500 behind. Big blind folds, and the hijack thinks about it for a second before making the call, increasing my pot odds should I get there. And I'm certainly going to be trying to do so. So I put in the chips. Part of what I was thinking about was, could I represent hearts here if I miss? It would have to be a big bet. But when you're playing against super tight opponents, the only actual way to beat them is to bluff them. So you have to find spots to do it. I wasn't sure this would be one, but it was in the back of my mind. And with 230 in, the river is indeed a heart. Small blind checks, which I knew she would probably do with hands like 2 pair here. If I had had 2 pair in that spot, I'd still be betting the river because check calling generally does not work out well against most opponents on the river in spots like this because they're only going to be betting if they beat you. But after she bets, the hijack takes her remaining $115 stack and slides it all into the pot. So I can no longer consider my initial plan about representing the hearts here. And I just fold. Small blind snaps her off. OWC on OWC crime, and she says, good call, with pocket deuces being tabled for the win. So I make a good decision not to semi-bluff this flop, and I guess it's unlikely if the hijack hadn't gotten involved that I could have bluffed the river, as I said. So sometimes money saved is money earned. She would then win another pot when she would limp in under the gun, which she'd done a decent amount of times, not always with monsters. So I chose to raise ace deuce suited to see what would happen. She limp raises me. I actually say out loud, right before I folded and the hand was going to be over, that I put her on kings. And she does show kings. My girlfriend Anna has been wanting to learn golf, so we can have something to do together on Wednesdays when it's not ski season. She's still learning the golf part, but she has already mastered the outfit part, as she would proceed to prove to me with these texts on this day. Crazy Joe Namath would sit down. I would raise a few hands after that point. None would yield any fruit. And after 2 players would get up, several other players would panic. I know you've all seen this, where there's 1 or 2 open seats in the game, and there's other players that are like, oh my god, the game's dying. Oh my god, I can't play anymore. And that's precisely what would happen on this day. I was certainly hoping to play another couple of hours and vlog a few more hands. But sometimes the game just dries up on you. And that's what happened here. So this decision to try the middle game, the 3-5 game, would technically be a profitable decision, but by no means a great decision. All right, well, I guess I could say I'm glad I tried that. But the game would fizzle up and die after only a couple of hours. At that point, I couldn't get in 5-10 if I wanted to. But I want you all to know, I'm still booking a win today. That's right. A $43 win. Shout out to Steve H here at Peppermill. That was his favorite part of the vlog right there, I'm sure. The good news is, I didn't mention this, but I did jump in that game last night as well. So it's not always that bad. And I booked about an $800 win. So not even for the week after that first session that you saw, but closer than you might have thought after seeing the result of this session. But I don't want to talk about Reno poker anymore. I want to go to Philadelphia and check in with Bugsy.
Hey Ben, what's going on? It's Bugsy here. I have just landed in the city of brotherly love and thought I would come down and check out the live casino here. It is on the outskirts of Philly. Looks like they've got about 13 tables going, mixed variety of games, but I'm gonna go inside and check it out. Seems like a very cool property, so let's see what's going on inside. So that room, they have about 30 tables. They were spreading all sorts of games. 5-10, 1-2, 1-3, 2-5. They had 2-2 PLO, 5-5 PLO. And the room is pretty spacious. It opened up in like 2020, so the tables are far apart. So I like the way they had the room set up. I like the way that the people were dealing. They were very, very knowledgeable. And the players were very friendly. But what I will tell you is that I have no idea why they would hold a large tournament inside of their room and take up 14 of the 30 tables, which created a massive wait list on all of their games that got up to be about 160 people. I went to somebody with a badge and asked them, why would you hold a tournament in your main room? Why would you not go up to a ballroom or something? You have all these people that are very unhappy standing around. And his answer was, that's above my pay grade. So, all in all, I didn't go back. I ended up at the Rivers Casino, and I'll tell you about that later.
All right, thank you, Bugsy. We'll check back in with you on the next vlog as well for the second part of your trip with a correspondence piece at Rivers Casino as well. Always sucks when tournaments get in the way. Cash game action. Let's get one more nominee in here, and then I got to talk about a story that I'm on tilt about for my trip. We will announce the winner for this set of coins from the old Reno Hilton on the next vlog. Let's get one more nominee in there, and that would come from Scott, who says, I have a horse at the moment who currently is experiencing variance like you, but over 1 year, he writes 2,000 hours, which is double what I usually try to play. That's for those playing truly full-time. You will still only see around 50,000 hands, so live variance can be cruel. Hope things turn for you. Keep up the grind and the great content. Yeah, it's always one of those things that you can think about too, is just how long it takes to truly enter the long run when you're playing live poker. And obviously, I've never been a huge online poker. I still grind it out on Poker Bros to get practice in spots here and there. And I played a lot on full tilt back prior to Black Friday on April 15th, 2010. But since then, my online days have not been great. But it's much easier to truly enter that point when you're playing so many more hands and multi-tabling than it is when you're actually just doing this live. So yeah, to have variance swing back into your favor can take a long time. And it's taking its sweet time for me in 2025, as I am still stuck significantly for the year, and we are now almost in June. So it stinks. There's no question about it. I still expect to win it all back and book a winning year by the end, but not the spot I wanted to be in at this point. All right, that will conclude the poker portion of this vlog, and I expect most of you to subsequently tune out, and I don't blame you. If you missed it last week, I will keep it in the description for this week. I did an entire vlog on the Spain trip without the poker, and I had a lot of fun doing that featuring my girlfriend Anna and her friends. They call themselves the Spicy Estrogen Crew. And after I came back from the trip, and I actually mentioned this during that vlog about how I visited the country of Andorra while I was watching the show Andor, which, by the way, might be my favorite show since Better Call Saul. Absolutely love Andor. Tony Gilroy just did an amazing job writing that show. A guy that doesn't really even like Star Wars, creating the best Star Wars show of all time. But I didn't even realize it. I'm back from Spain and I'm watching some of the final episodes of Andor, and I'm thinking, damn, that looks just like where I was at in Valencia, where Anna and I were on a bike tour checking the city out. But I'm thinking to myself, no, it's got to be somewhere else. It can't just be right there. It was. And I did not realize it. I am so devastated that I missed this golden opportunity to go take a picture on the iconic bench where the characters of Luthen and Lonnie held their final meeting. I will not tell you what happens in that meeting because I don't want to spoil Andor for those of you that haven't watched it. But I am steaming mad that I was there and I didn't even know it. Can this year get any worse for me? Damn.